Half the class fails the midterm after cheaters copy me. I don't have a problem helping classmates. I really don't. I even tutored several classmates during my final semester of undergrad because they needed the help. They all ended up passing their classes with my assistance. This story comes from a particularly tough business information systems class during my undergraduate education. The students in this class were mostly non-technical business majors, so this new material wasn't at all similar to anything we'd learned in other classes. Needless to say, most of the students were struggling, including me. I still had a 4.0 in college at this point, though I finished with a 3.99, and I was willing to put in max effort to keep my stellar GPA. I started studying hard. I made my own Quizlet sets, I read the book every night, I finished assignments a week early, and I did outside research. After grinding it out in this class for about a month, I was working on an assignment in a room designated for quiet homework time, and that's where our story begins. Several other students from my class were there and working on the same assignment I was on. Judging by the size of exasperation, the irritated whispers, and requests for help, they weren't having much success. Having studied relentlessly for a month, I was having an easier time of it. As I got up to go get some water from the fountain in the hall, a classmate asked for my help. I told him I could do that and I'd be right back. I returned a few minutes later to find what I can only describe as a bunch of busy bees happily working away. This was strange since they were hopelessly stuck 2 minutes before. But whatever. My classmate tells me he figured it out without me. Now, I'm not an idiot, so I know the 5 people in this room probably copied my work off my computer when I went to get water. Scumbag move number 1. But as it turns out, no one in the class needed help the next day or the day after. Whoever in the study room had stolen my work had forwarded it to most of the class. Scumbag move number 2. I don't mind being helpful, but I hate being used, so I made a plan to get back at the people who had stolen my work. It didn't take long to organize my plan and carry it out. Here's how it went. 1. I changed an answer on the next assignment by multiplying by -1. $1,500 became negative $1,500 on this question. 2. The next week, I left my computer in the same place as before and went to get water, just like I had done the week before. 75% of the people in my class of 40 people put $1,500 as the answer to question 3, which was definitely incorrect. 3. I began studying relentlessly for the midterm. Our professor had said he wouldn't adjust the weight of the test, something like your score /50 on a test with 60 points available, so your score of 40 becomes 80% instead of 67%, if anyone scored particularly well. This class was difficult, and no one was expecting anyone to score over 75%, so all my classmates figured the weight of the test would be adjusted. My plan was to wreck the curve, even though it's not a curve, and deny everyone the adjusted weight by producing a sufficiently high score. 4. I recruited a classmate who hadn't stolen my work to study with. Together, we aimed to score high enough that our professor couldn't adjust the weight of the midterm. Here's how it all played out. No one who copied me realized the answer was incorrect. Every last one of those idiots submitted the wrong answer for question 3. This next part surprised me. But my classmates began insisting the class was unfair, too difficult, or rigged, and launched these complaints at our professor. One day after class I had the following exchange since I was the last student out of the classroom. Professor, OP, do you think this class is too hard? Me, honestly, this class is hard. But if people spent as much time studying as they did complaining, they'd be fine. They really need to just get to work. Professor, I thought the same. Me, deciding spur of the moment my next move. I also happen to know that most of the class incorrectly copied my work on the last assignment. Question 3 should be a net income of $1,500, not a net loss of $1,500. I put down the wrong answer initially, everyone copied me, and then I changed the answer later. I think you can reasonably conclude that anyone with negative $1,500 as the answer cheated off of my incorrect work. Professor, I figured they all copied. But I didn't know you were the source. Anyway, thanks for your candor and your dedication to the class. I didn't cheat, so I don't know what happened to those who did. but depending on the class, they would either get a 0 for the assignment or a plagiarism citation, so they got one of those. Fast forward to test day, and I'm ready to go. I know since most of the students are business majors, they need 70% to pass the class because it's a required course. Hurting them on the midterm will go a long way in helping drop their grades. I take the test, I'm the first one done, and I leave pretty sure I've done enough to deny the class the exam weight adjustment. A week later, we get our exams back. Tests are distributed all around me with scores on the top in red ink. 68, 71, 70, 66, 75, 67, and these are the smart students. Someone on the end of my row takes a test from our professor and lets out a sigh as he begins passing a test down my row. It stops on my desk. 93%. I've won. Some idiot in the front of the class, so is there going to be a curve? Professor, nope. Me, what was the high score? Professor, 93%. Average score for the exam was 71, so a good number of people didn't get a passing score. Maybe they made up for it on the final and passed. But I don't care. I got mine TLDR. People steal my homework, so I bait them into giving a wrong answer, tip the professor off on their cheating, and score high enough on the midterm to deny anyone a chance for an adjusted score. Now to the comments. Windows plus L, people. Windows plus L. Yeah, I feel like the takeaway from this story is to lock your computer before you leave the room. Who just leaves their computer unlocked around other people? It became such a reflex for me at work that I've been locking my computer when I walk to the kitchen to get a drink while working from home. I like the revenge being, I studied hard and did really well on the test, and that ducked them over. As they say, the best revenge is living well. It's the most unbelievable part of the story, though. Profs who bell curve don't find themselves constrained by people with high marks. They just push those outliers even higher. So if the professor here had ever intended to bell curve, OP would have received his 4.0. Assuming the story is actually true, OP got hosed. It's been my experience that professors will adjust their curves based on how well they believe students to be actually learning the material. If a professor believes the students to have a decent working knowledge of the material, e.a. in classroom activities and quizzes, but they test poorly on written exams, it may mean a problem with the test, and the professor will curve the grades to better align with what they believe is better representative of the actual knowledge of the class. But if a class demonstrates that they're mostly lazy, looking for shortcuts, or otherwise not actually learning, you can kiss the curve goodbye and failing students can deal with their marks. I remember I did the exact same when I took second semester organic chemistry. Me and my buddy were being taken advantage of and we made sure the class got no curve. The exam was out of 100 with the opportunity to get 102% due to a bonus question. I got 102% and my buddy got 98%. The class average was a 43%. Yes, 43. Everyone who tried to mooch off us the whole semester got ducked and I couldn't have been happier. OP replied, "Bravo, my friend. Isn't it fun to get high scores and watch your enemies crumble at the lack of a curve?" Yep. Something like this happened when I was a senior at UCLA almost 50 years ago, and I still get a great good feeling when I think about it. Well done, OP. I love academic excellence and your revenge was just perfect. Hard work plus high IQ plus planning equals ProRevenge. It doesn't happen as often as it should on this subreddit. Agreed. Wow, I wish I had such dedication to revenge. Just think, study like hell to get revenge is one of the coolest motivations ever. OP replied, "It really was great motivation. My partner ended up getting a pretty good score too. She wouldn't tell me, but I think she got between 80 and 85. Revenge is fantastic motivation even if you weren't the original wronged party. I'd be super happy with an 80. Things that did not happen. Yeah, I don't buy this story at all. Chances that an undergrad test, that later in the story turned out to be an assignment, was unsupervised. Low. GPA 3.99, spoke to professor, I'm so smart everyone else is dumb. Yeah, now this story is fantasy. Just missing, then everyone clapped. Thanks for your candor and dedication. Teacher here, I had a student who always got the top scores on everything. One day he turns in a quiz with a smirk. He quietly told me that he made sure each and every question was wrong because the kid next to him was cheating off him. I laughed and offered to let him retake the quiz. I offered several different times too. Each time he laughed and said nah, it was worth it. My grade didn't suffer.